All right. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Sorry, a little bit late with our technology there, but it's all good. Just a reminder, we were not able to have our barbecue on the 27th due to the rain, but it seems now that the forecast for next Saturday is looking bright, sunny and shine. So I'd like to invite everyone to join us on September 10th, which is next Saturday, to join us for our barbecue. All right. So to start, I would like today to read text number 92 from the Living Spring, and the title is Signs from Heaven. And the passage that Emmanuel elaborates is, "So they asked him, 'What sign will you give that we may see it and believe in you?'" That's in John chapter 6, verse 30. Let's see what Emmanuel says. "In every era, when someone on the earth refers to the things of heaven, a veritable multitude of inquiries rushes to ask for objective signs for the truth that is being proclaimed. Consequently, modern mediums are constantly assailed by the demands of those in search of the spiritual life. This one is a clairvoyant and should give proof of what he sees. That one rides under uncommon conditions and is constrained to furnish proof regarding the sources of her inspiration. Another materializes, discarnates, and is challenged to do so in public. However, many people forget that all the Lord's creatures externalize their own particular signs. The mineral is recognized by its usefulness. The tree is named by its fruit. The sky spreads messages of light. The water gives notice of its incessant work. The air, without using words, tells of its ability to maintain life. And the same imperatives apply as far as men and women are concerned. Each brother or sister in the struggle is examined according to his or her characteristics. Fools are known by their puerilities. Wise people manifest prudence. Those who are the best at what they do demonstrate the virtues that are peculiar to them. Thus, when asking for revelations from heaven regarding their earthly pilgrimage, learners of the gospel should not neglect the necessity to demonstrate they are firmly disposed to progress into heaven. There was a day when a crowd asked the Savior, who had already done great things for them, "What sign will you give that we may see it and believe in you?" So just think that if such a question was asked of the Lord of life, what sort of question will the Most High ask us every time we pray for signs for heaven in order for us to fulfill our simple task? So connected that we are raising our most superior thoughts to God, to Jesus Christ, our Master, and to the guardian angels from each one of us here, and for the entire spiritual team that takes care and guides us for FSS. Let's be grateful. Let's be grateful for one more morning that the sun is shining. Let's be grateful for one more opportunity that we have to be here in fraternity, to be here amongst brothers and sisters, to learn a little bit more about the gospel of Jesus in light of this consoling doctrine that is Spiritism. Let's be grateful for our health. Let's be grateful for every moment, being it a challenge or being it a success that has been put into our journey so we can progress. We can progress as immortal, spirits, that we can progress in our moral evolution. Let's ask that connected we are with the divine knowledge and the divine wisdom, that we take the most use of this time that we have together, that each one of us can think a little bit, can reflect what those words from Jesus, from Emmanuel, from the higher spirits can help us in each individual journey. Let's ask that we have a blessed Sunday morning, a blessed time amongst each other, full of love, serenity, tranquility, and fraternity. So be it. Okay, so today we're going to talk about confidence. This virtue that is, as many of you know, it's very near and dear to my heart. It's a virtue or a topic that I always try to investigate more, because I think it's part of my journey, it's part of my my path here in this existence, to develop a little bit more, to really put into practice what does it mean and how confidence, and you're going to see confidence in myself and in each one of us, confidence in God and confidence in life, how that really helps us to navigate some of the challenges, some of the successes, and just what Kardec calls in the doctrine, some of the vicissitudes that are put in front of us, so we can learn. For today, I have based in some texts, in some reflections. First is Times of Confidence or Trust, made by Arthur Valadares, or Tempo de Confiança. Saibamos confiar, let us know how to trust, also from Arthur. The Gospel According to Spiritism, my favorite book, Thought and Life. There's a chapter called Faith. As we're talking about confidence, we're going to establish a parallel between confidence and faith, how those two are intertwined and how those two are part of our life. And also another small passage from the Divine Justice, or Justiça Divina, from Francisco Cândido Xavier. So, if I start with this text here called Let Us Know How to Trust. And that's a text from Arthur Valadares, does a lot of reflections, and that is a text from Vinha de Luz. And I always forget how to translate Vinha de Luz into English. The line of light, I think that's it. And if the text in title is Let Us Know How to Trust, we can ask a question is, how can we learn? How can we learn and develop confidence and develop trust? So here, Emmanuel is kind of giving us a little bit of a hint that there is a process. There is a little bit of a path that we are invited to follow. No, it's Vine of Light. I just saw in my notes here. It's Vine of Light. That's a text. So there's a path for us to investigate, for us to take some actions, law of work and law of progress, so we can develop that within ourselves. And in order to kind of learn a little bit, I always like in my journey to see what is not recommended and then what is recommended. I like to put those two kind of components, because sometimes when you just think what is that you have to do, you just forget, like sometimes it's a little bit subjective. So I want to start with what the Spiritist Emmanuel, Emmanuel says on what not to do, and then we go to what is recommended for us to do. So I want to bring this text called Let Us Know How to Trust, from the book The Way, the Truth, and the Light. And then Emmanuel starts saying that Jesus does not recommend indifference or irresponsibility. The master who advocated prayer and vigilance would not advise the disciple not to be concerned before the need of the service to be done. So here, Emmanuel starts giving some indications that when you trust, when you have confidence, that doesn't mean that you just wash your hands, sit tight, and wait for a power, a something just descend and do all the work. And you say, yeah, I really I don't care. I just trust, I have faith, and things will just happen. That's not what this Spirit Emmanuel is telling us. And sometimes we not misconstruct, but in our challenges, navigating some of the challenges of our lives, sometimes say, yeah, this is hard. This is it's required a lot of effort, and because it's too hard, I'm just gonna sit here and I just play that indifference, right? And I go in that movement that is so extreme that I really don't care. Or sometimes I'm too concerned, I'm too neurotic that I'm trying to look for that kind of perfection. Or sometimes I might even blame myself because I didn't do X, Y, or Z. So the invitation here, as you're going to hopefully see throughout this talk, is to find something in the middle. That's the secret. If I were to summarize, it's most of the lessons is to find something in the middle. And here, the Emmanuel is saying that we need to be a little bit, and concern might not be, I think concern can be a word, but we just need to plan, right? We just need to put some effort and see, something might be challenging, something might happen in the future, and it can go from anything from our life, that I need to do some work. I need to prepare myself, even if it's with financial resources or with planning, acquiring knowledge, whatever is required for that situation. That's why he mentions here about the prayer and vigilance, or vigilance and prayer. The invitation is, and I sound like a broken record, but I like when Emmanuel mentioned, we are similar to a radio, or it's similar that we are in a market of ideas. It's us that decide which station am I going to tune, or which idea am I going to purchase in that market, right? So it's important that we stay vigilant, and we in staying vigilant to go to the resource of prayer, so we find that discipline, so we find that balance, and we can identify, what can I do here? I can only act in the present, but I can do a variety of things that can help me prepare for the future, but it can be done here in the present. Another topic, when we talk about confidence, when we talk about trust, when we talk about preparing ourselves, is about fear, right? Fear is something, again, it's very near and dear to my heart. And there is a purpose for us to have fear, right? God, in His wisdom, would not give us fear just for us to suffer or to struggle. Fear has a purpose, so we can, for example, watch out if a dog is trying to bark us. Or fear can ground us if I want to cross a big avenue full of cars, and I need to be aware, is that a right time to cross or not? So, however, there are some times, and especially in the times that we are living right now, with so many things happening in the world, it's important that we stay vigilant and think, is this fear, is that the natural amount that is helping me not be attacked by a dog or an animal, or being careful when driving, or that fear is paralyzing me, right? That fear is stopping me to seek that confidence within myself, to seek that confidence in life and in God, and it's kind of prohibiting me. and becoming a barrier so I can not pursue opportunities, or even the fear to know myself, right? I've talked a little bit in the past about that self-encounter, that time that we dedicated with ourselves so we know who we are dealing with, what are the areas that are required for us to improve. And sometimes, because when we embark on that journey, you don't know exactly what you're going to find about ourselves. And sometimes that fear just put a roadblock, right? And say, I'll just stay with Luis in the surface, and I'm not going to investigate whatever Luis has in his most depth within his soul. So I like there's one text from Living Spring that says that a fearful heart paralyzes one's ability to work. So it's hard for us to even abide to the law of work, to the law of progress, because if we let that fear take over ourselves. A reckless, however, if you just say, I am fearless, really don't care. Go into responsibility, and there's like we go with that temerity. It's like, I don't care of anything. I'll just go and do it without thinking. A reckless heart set a fire to any endeavor and destroys it. So again, it's not about the lack of have no fear at all, or being super fearful and paralyzing us. Let us seek the balance of courage. Courage is going with the fear and really trusting ourselves, trusting within our heart that we are able to accomplish what we need to do. So, and then he leads, or he gives this kind of introduction to say what is, I want to say, imperative, or what is required for us not to do. And he says, it only calls for combating chronic pessimism. So this is a guidance that Emmanuel says that for us to take into consideration and see if we have this chronic pessimism in our life. Because when we only believe on the negative, only believe on the disaster, only believe on the tragedy, what type of thoughts that we are cultivating, what type of energy we are cultivating around us, and what type of behaviors that we start to show. If we're in the pessimism, we a lot of time will be whining, right? It's like, oh, it's always hard, I can't, I don't, not able, not capable. As you start telling that to yourself, it becomes hard to build that courage, to build that confidence. We start complaining a lot. And even if we think about how nice or how to be surrounded by a person or a few folks that only emits or sends that pessimism energy. So there is this invitation that we use our discernment and be aware of ourselves. Am I that? Am I in that path? It might be the case that sometimes we take a little bit of that journey. I've taken that, and it's like, it's hard. I'm not able to see the end. I'm not able to see the light. I'm always in that negative. And sometimes as we grow, we start feeling that energy in our body. You see that you lack that strength. You lack that hope that we are invited to believe. That there will be always a result that will be beneficial to each one of us. And in that hope, in that belief that is possible, but how would you ask, Luis, but how? How are you so certain that that hope exists? How are you so certain that that better future, that something good that will happen to each one of us, how do you believe that? And then I draw the attention to the attributes of God. If God is pure love, if God is justice, if God is good, there is no chance that God will create for us a future that is not good, a future that is not loving, a future that is not just. Right? It's kind of on the logic. And no matter what, and I learned this, there was someone that that said that when they're talking about mercy, and he asked, do you guys think that in each of the immortal spirits that are here on earth, we have different levels of mercy? Luis might have a little bit more mercy, Sonia even more, she even more, or someone else even less. No, mercy is for all. It doesn't matter if you did something bad or if you do something good. Keep doing good because we are on the right track, but the divine mercy is for every single one of us. And every single one of us has the adequate and the amount that is necessary. And sometimes when we are in those storms, it's important that we believe on that mercy and that we deserve that mercy. And we will have that mercy. It doesn't matter if we all made some mistakes, bigger, smaller, what have you, but we will have that mercy for us, so we can continue in our journey. So important to kind of be vigilant if we find ourselves, especially now that we are kind of exiting this period of pandemic where so many things happened. The world is in this flux, and there's so many opinions, and there's so many fake news, there's so many information, so much information going around, that is important that we have our mental temple, our kingdom inside of ourselves, to pause and also to understand our own responsibility on that as well. With all the social medias that we have and everything, if we receive something that is not consoling, if we receive a message or something that is only will stir it up the pot, it only will even damage or be even more harmful for our loved ones, family, and friends, it's our responsibility not to move that forward, right? Is to respect if someone sent, but just stop right there. So we are doing our part as well. Okay, if Emmanuel says chronic pessimism, it's not the way, right? It's not the approach that is recommended. What is the approach? So he's going to say on Thought and Life, when he explains about faith, he says, we cannot therefore achieve anything. And I'm trying to pay even more and more attention to the words that Emmanuel uses. He is not saying we cannot achieve some things, we cannot achieve, or we may be able to achieve little things or things here and there. He's saying we cannot achieve anything without a positive attitude of confidence. Anything. So that's a very important call for us to think about what type of energy in our mental house we are cultivating. Because Emmanuel is saying that the positive attitude is a precondition, is a requirement for us to achieve or do everything or anything in our life, so we can be successful. But why? Why positive? When I talked a little bit about our guardian angels, if we stay in that negative thought, we are kind of blocking our spirit to receive all the intuitions, all the advices from mentors and for spiritual guides. However, if our mental house is, of course, it won't be, if I picture like a garden with all the flowers and everything, the grass is so green and it's everything 100% positive. We know that in this world of trials and expiations, where there will be a lot of frustrations, of course, there will be a little bit of fear, there will be a little bit of pessimism, but the important is some corners of beautiful daisies, some corners of roses, some corners that are a little bit, the grass is a little bit greener. So our spiritual guides and all the help and all the love that God has to give us can really arrive. And we can really take that and use that to our own benefit. In this component, I was reading a little bit more about more faith, or a little bit more. There's a psychologist back in the U.S. that she did a little bit of reflections about this truth, this part of faith. And here she mentions that Emmanuel contributes to an even deeper understanding of faith. Because here from faith, God is just somewhere and I just believe it exists. Right? We can take that stance. I believe in God, God is there, I'm here, and I'll just sit tight and I'll just believe that. However, here, the invitation from Emmanuel, or his deeper understanding, is there's something inside us. There's something that is required from us to build, to work, and to believe, and to do the effort to do that. God is there, and it's required for us to get closer to God. God never separates from us and is never apart from us. It's us with our own decisions, our own attitudes and behaviors that we sometimes take a little bit of a step back. However, it's important that we do some of the work, that we believe, that we have the seeds. We have that essence, and every single one of us have that essence to develop that confidence, to develop that positive attitude, and we can build that confidence within ourselves and also confidence in God. And she uses a very simple example and say, hey, let's say we have a beautiful feijoada or we have something to eat, right? Do we have to send a command to our own body, say, now digest? Yeah, right? Or now do whatever you need to do, body, so you can process whatever I ate. No. Isn't this a behavior or an attitude of faith in our body? I trust that my body will do whatever my body needs to do in order to process or to do with that food. So that is an example, a super simple and rude example of some small acts of faith that we practice in our daily lives. And she actually uses another one with cars. When you turn on your car, do you say, now engine, do your job? Now wheels, do your job? No. We trust, right? That car, we did all the maintenance, but that car will do whatever it needs to do so we can move us from point A to point B. So those are some acts of confidence that we can establish within ourselves, and we can see how that plays a role that we believe that the best will happen and we'll be able to tackle whatever we need to. Sonia.
I just would like to comment on the examples that you gave that I thought was very interesting, because we know that our body will process our food and whatever we are going to eat.
Yeah.
Because we know, because we study. When we go to the doctors or when you go to school, we learn about that.
Yeah.
So trusting God is important for us. The divine laws that we are invited to know better. Like Jesus said, know the truth, and the truth will set us free.
Mm-hmm.
So when we know more, when we study, when we investigate those laws, we understand how the universe works.
Yeah.
And then we start feeling this faith, because we know about the faith. But the process that we cannot, what Emmanuel maybe is, that's my understanding, what he is advising here is to feel that faith,
Mm-hmm.
to feel in your hearts how those laws work and how they impact my life.
Yep.
And we start feeling God's children, His protection, His love towards us.
Exactly. Yeah. Thank you, Sonia. Exactly that. As we know, and with any, like even our professions, I decided to be a doctor. I need to go and learn whatever I need to learn to become a doctor. The same way, I can even establish a little bit of parallel. I want to be a better immortal spirit. Okay, I need to learn. What are some of the things? What are some of the paths? What are some of the important components that I need to do? Some of the work that I need to do so I will achieve that better state of being an immortal spirit. And here what we're doing right now is one part of that. Understanding a little bit more. And I think we're so blessed and grateful for all those spirits that have contributed with all this knowledge. So we can say, okay, what does that mean to me now? And how can I use that so I can be a better person? And continuing, this is the chapter or faith about thought and life. There's a question. Emmanuel says, how can one express faith? People often ask. How do I express my faith? Faith cannot be defined in ordinary language, he says. It is a power that is born with the soul itself. It is an instinct, certainty in the wisdom of God, which is the wisdom of itself. So, if Emmanuel is saying faith cannot be defined in ordinary language, is he saying that we need extraordinary language? Is he saying that, you'll never be able to understand faith because you don't have the language for it? Is that what he's saying? No, right? Because what Sonia just mentioned, faith is not only a description that we found in the dictionary. Faith is more about our attitudes. It's more about how we live our life. It's about our behaviors. It's about our mental state, what we cultivate within our minds, within our souls, within our body. It doesn't need any extraordinary language, but it needs our attitude. It needs our behaviors. It needs our willingness, right? Our will, when Emmanuel says that will should be that cabinet that governs everything in our life, because that will guides us into becoming a better person. And I'd like to bring, there is Vanessa Anceloni, who is the person from Kardec Radio. She, as a scientist that she is, there is one or two doctors. One I know that's Andrew Newberg. He wrote a book saying how God changes your brain. So scientists proved through various research methods that if you think and you concentrate in God, God really changes your brain. It says that their research concluded that active and positive spiritual belief changes the human brain for the better. Parts of the brain lights up, contemplating a loving God rather than a punitive God reduces anxiety, depression, stress, and increases the feeling of security, compassion, and love. So science has proved, and she mentions as a neurologist, as she is, as we read a passage, as we read the Bible, as we think, as we talk about God, parts our brain lights up. Is that the same part? No. Different parts of our brain lights up, and it starts generating that positive energy that helps us to continue navigating. So I thought that was brilliant, that scientists dedicated time to find that and to kind of try with research methods to prove. And before I go to you, I loved when they said, I went to the website that what he said, that they believe in a loving God rather than a punitive God. I thought that was like, wow, that's brilliant, right? Instead of us just believing, you shall do this or you'll be punished if you don't do this, and just knowing that loving Father can help us.
It's got an interesting point there because I like a lot of physics.
Mm-hmm.
And our body, our self produces energy.
Yes.
So if you think you're like, if you put yourself in front of the mirror in the dark and divest, you're gonna see a lot of sparkles.
Mm-hmm.
Or even if you just touch your head and scratch, you see sparkles.
Yeah. So, and I actually remember, I think it was Emmanuel that mentioned, when you read a book or you read a romance, you are connecting yourself with the energy of that book and with the energy of those spirits that guide it.
Fragrance.
Yes, you just reading, by the act of reading a book, you are already connecting and transforming the areas of your brain to the better. So I thought that was, I need to buy that book. I haven't had a chance yet, but
It's like a Bluetooth.
yeah, it's like a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi. It's whatever network you want to connect. There's a lot of networks available out there.
You just need a password.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, it's Andrew and Mark Robert. Robert Wadman.
There's another book, Luis, that I would like to mention here.
Mm-hmm.
It's the book from Dr. Larry Dossey,
Mm-hmm.
which is great too. It's called One Mind, and explain us exactly what you're saying, that we are all connected.
Yeah.
When we tune ourselves in that frequency, we are part of that.
That's a book called The Secret. I don't know if you guys have a
Mhm.
chance to see it. So
Mhm.
that's basically.
Yeah. And it's interesting that it mentions here, it's a power that is born with the soul itself, with the soul. It's not a power that is born with Luis, the material body of Luis. It's my and each one of us, immortal spirit, was born with that. Again, if we use the parallel of divine mercy, it's like, oh, maybe Luis has the capacity of having a little bit more faith. Someone else a little bit less faith. No, all of us have this matrix. All of us have this capability to connect to God, to build that faith and trust within us.
But then if we keep feeding those negative thoughts, the pessimism, as you said, we create that kind of helmet or whatever.
Yeah, you clog the pipe.
Yeah.
Kind of, yeah.
Then it's a vicious cycle. You can't, if you believe that you can't get things better, things won't get better because you can't see beyond that.
Yeah.
And the faith that we're talking about, it's, as we know, we have studied, faith is confidence in life, in ourselves, and in God.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a religious thing, because usually people say faith is like, oh, I believe in Jesus, or this, I follow that church or the other church. But it's that belief, that confidence in life, and that we are not alone. There is a God, whatever is the way we think about God, but there's an intelligence behind all of this. We're not just a Big Bang result.
Yeah.
I don't know the word in English. Like we're not just here for no reason.
Yeah. Yeah.
And life, if we believe that we have the capacity to do things, then we put that energy out there as well.
Yeah.
And the life, because we are not alone. We're not alone because we have God, but we also have each other. We have life, we have everything that we live, family, friends, and sometimes people that smile at you in a bus can change your day for better or for worse.
Yeah.
But I mean, if someone smiles, you just for better.
Yeah, exactly.
But we need, we are invited to open ourselves up.
Yeah, and that's okay. Sometimes we get that pipe a little bit clogged. That will happen. It's part of the process. And then we put a little bit of some using some Drano, and then you just clear the pipe. You just clear a little bit, but then we learn. It's like, oh, okay, clogged a little bit. What clogged? What clogged my pipe? What is prohibiting me to connect and let the water a little bit flow so I can use the right attitude or the right mechanism so I can let that pipe flow? True.
No, you're gonna go because it is an interesting point of view because I think everybody here at some point of your life went through a very a hard situation or a depressed moment. So when you go through one depressed moment, doesn't matter which situation it is. So your thoughts, your brain is just like you need to think all the time negative.
Yeah.
It's just negative. The negative is like a gasoline. Consumes you. So, but it's just like exercise. We have to be all the time. It's not like one day. It's every minute. We have to keep thinking positive. Doesn't matter how hard is your life.
Vigilance.
Always have something positive. It's a learning thing.
Yes. Yeah.
Because we like to be victims.
What you were saying is gratitude.
Yes. And kind of the way it's putting ourselves as an apprentice, right? It's like, all right, I have a choice to take a look at the situation and see, okay, what can I learn? I will make mistakes. Okay, but I move forward, but I will learn. And then I've been in that place. It's like sometimes, I'm stubborn. I'm trying to get the same result doing the same things.
That's the reason why we're here.
Yes.
It's for learning, to go through those kind of situations. Because I tell people, from my friends group, life won't be fun if you don't have problems.
That's right.
Life won't be fun if you don't have problems. If you have a money, you can buy whatever you want. That's not right. You know what I mean?
How would you learn?
Yes, it's like a bottle. You have to earn the thing. You have to feel good.
Exactly.
And if we can just bring another law, the law of merit. Because if it was all we're just here
to make a balance, you need that thing in your life.
Yeah.
Because you can go here and it must be even. Some people they have a hard time in their life to find a balance.
Yeah. That's a lifelong journey to find balance. And it's not only a balance.
That's why we have reincarnation.
Yeah. And there's balance in several areas of your life, right? You find balance here. I'm trying to find balance with my kids now. Sometimes I go crazy. Sometimes I'm so peaceful and trying to find that balance. And then there's balance in my work.
Oh, I can do it. I learned it.
Oh, I see. It's for you.
Julie, you're going to say something?
I don't want to just to deviate a little bit more about the topic, but in terms of confidence right now, I'm going through this past few weeks, I would say, not considering time before, where confidence is something that I'm struggling a little bit about it, because we know that our planet is evolving, and that's the law of the universe, right? Yep. Even though a lot of people, they don't believe that because we don't share the same faith, right? This week I was talking to him briefly, and then he was working with a teenager or youth, I would say, or little kids, and then he came to me and said, "My generation is lost, Mom." And
so Oliver, you help them.
And then Callum came to me also on Tuesday and said, "My generation is lost."
Oh my goodness.
I can't believe it. Have you seen the news from New York, Detroit, Chicago? I said, "No, I haven't seen anything today. I didn't have time. I just finished the work when he came home." I said, "No, it's just something that I was reading about. The way people live in New York or San Francisco, it's just crazy. Those people, they just party, they use drugs, they don't care about anything in life. They are just in a criminal life." I said, "Wow. I noticed that before too." Not just today. He said, "Mom, it's so horrible. I don't know how these people is gonna go or live or finish their lives." I said, and then we start talking about this, right? And then I said, "That's why, Callum, I have been talking to you for so long about having faith in something or believing in something. Even God, whatever we call God, Allah,
Doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter the name.
Yeah.
It's something that created us. We are not just here in a trip like for fun. There's got to be a purpose.
Yeah.
And then we start talking about this, right? And then I noticed that these youth, they miss something. They don't believe that we're here for a purpose. They don't believe that God is this energy, this force that created us for a purpose.
Yep.
Empty, they're very empty inside.
Yeah, yeah. But when you start talking about that, there's some lectures that says sometimes and I kind of make a reference to the pessimism, because sometimes what we just hear and what the media wants us to hear and what gives popularity is just that bad thing. My God, like in New York, people are like doing this and shooting, and it's hard, and people is like they don't care about anyone else, and that's what we see on the surface. But there are a lot of other things happen for good. That is just the media. It doesn't sell. There's a lot of people that are helping in Africa, helping people to survive. There are a lot of people that we don't even know that help someone with their health issues here in Calgary. It's just that doesn't caught the attention, and we just focus on those news, on this terrible, or that the world has lost its cause, right? But then even if you think, let's compare, what was the world 2,000 years ago, and what is the world today? Even though there's a lot of things that are happening, it's hard, pandemic, but let's compare what we had 2,000 years ago and what we have now. We really progress. It's tremendous. It's tremendous. The advancement that we have, how even
technology, yes, I agree.
But even a lot, but even I think we are in the process of moral as well. There's a long way, there is, but we're more compassionate. We don't burn anyone else. We don't burn people in squares, right? Yeah. So there is an evolution. Is there a bigger way or more way? Yes, there is. But it's important that we recognize there's a lot of things good that has happened and will continue happen, and it is happening. It's important that we shift our focus instead of if we're just watching that news. I know it's hard because it's all there, TV, shootings and hard. But what are other things that are good that are happening in the world? So we can switch and change that mindset and have a little bit of more faith and have a little bit of more hope in humanity and in the world. And also believe, would God let us? He will let us do our mistakes. But there is a bigger purpose and a better future for us. And this world, if we want or we don't want, will evolve. Not only with the help of each one of us, if each one of us does what we need to do, but with the help of the spirituality, right? There are higher or more evolved spirits that will come to earth to help us with our journey. So I think it's important that we, again, vigilance, right? If we are in that state, we try to shift. What's something better that I can take a look so I can shift that mindset as well.
I try to, as much as I have the opportunity to engage in a conversation, because right now when I see their friends, or I had one of his friends coming over the other day, and then you know that I'm watching The Chosen, right?
Yeah.
And then I was talking to this other kid, talking about this series that I'm really into, and then it touched my heart. And then I said, do you know about Jesus Christ? Do you believe in Jesus? I don't go to that side of my life, or I don't even pay attention about that. So obviously we cannot convince anybody about this, right?
Yep.
But what I was trying to talk to Callum, I said, everybody, all the youth, I know some youth, especially because I go to the other church as well, and I try to bring them. And I see youth involved in the church work, right? Mm-hmm. I see, but if we put into this proportion, how much or how many young people today are in the cause, in the good cause of Christianism, and especially here, right? In Brazil it's different, but and I told Callum, I said, Callum, who was Jesus Christ to you?
Mm-hmm.
And he grew up going to church.
Mm-hmm.
He grew up, he said. He was a very evolved spirit that came to earth to teach us better. And he told Nicodemus, I didn't come here to save you from the Romans. I came here to save you from the world.
Yeah, exactly. It's all a process. And I think I remember from Bartolomeo, that encounter that he had with Jesus. I can actually establish a little bit of parallel between the youth now and how Bartolomeo was feeling at that time. He was like, oh, Jesus, like, there's no more hope. Like, it's hard, I believe in you, but I think this better world is for something in the future. There's nothing I can do right now. And Jesus was saying, no, the good news is for everyone. But we cannot force. There's no imperative that you must change, you must do this. Every one of us will have our own path, will have our own way, our own time. But it's important that we can do something in this life. There is a relative or happiness that is possible in this own life, in this part of this planet. And it's up to each one of us to do the work. And each one of us will find a way to do that. Right? And I want to kind of bring to another part of this.
Just before we
Yeah.
something that I've been thinking. So I hear this new generation. I hear from my kids, all millennials, baby boomers, whatever, like Gen Z. I don't even know what.
There is Generation Z.
Yeah. So we know that there's no really separation, because as immortal spirits, we could be young materially, like in our bodies, but we could be like a very old soul. But
Juliana, please.
but if we think about, I'm going to talk about me. I'm 50 years old, so my generation went through just the beginning of the color TV. There's just a dial phone.
Yes.
There's no cell phone, and then went through cell phone,
Page.
and then smartphones, and all of that.
Page.
Yeah. All these kids now, all they know is the internet-connected world. So it is a different world for them too.
Patience, they don't have patience.
Everything is so immediate.
Yeah.
Like the
Yep.
response is all. I catch myself like, oh my God, it's taking so long to load this. And I'm a generation that I have to go to the library to get books to read for study.
What about the encyclopedias?
Yeah. So
Google.
like if your family had a little bit of money, you'd have like the big library with encyclopedias and stuff.
A to Z. Yep.
So, again, we are not separating generations, but what is that we can do to help the new, let's say, new generations? So, can we impose to them? No. Can we try to get better ourselves, to show them by our examples? Because the example is that's going to make them see, and hopefully, well, they will eventually, oh, that makes sense. Oh, see. So it was very interesting that your kids came up to that conclusion, even though it was like a kind of a pessimistic conclusion that the generation's lost. But they made that connect, like they thought about that. It wasn't just like because you're repeating or someone is repeating. They saw something and they made an evaluation about that situation, even though it was like pessimistic. Now, okay, well, let's now show the good things that exist, as Luis said.
Yeah.
So I think we have that commitment too, not just to get ourselves better, but as a society to help each other.
Yeah.
Some days I'm feeling down, and then someone else might say something to me that's going to bring me up.
Mm-hmm.
Same way around. This is September, is the life, what's that called? Awareness month for suicide.
Suicide, yeah.
So, and it's not just in the month; it's every time. Or every day. But our friends and brothers and sisters that are thinking and have suicidal thoughts, it's because they can't really see at that time. They can't see. They have that kind of helmet And how many times maybe we were there and someone just with a word, with something, helped us. They have to walk their paths, but as a society we also have, I would say, obligation, to be more aware, to be more vigilant for us and for others.
Yeah.
Just
Good.
Too much.
So I have to do. It's 11:57. I love that conversation. That's why we're here. I just want to end with just a couple. I won't be able to do a lot of reflections, but maybe we can come back one day. But here on this faith component of thought and life, I love when Emmanuel says, by consciously using faith, we can eliminate undue detours in the path of evolution. What are undue detours? It's every time we take a different route than the divine laws, right? So faith, it is a tool. Sometimes as humans, we need something tangible. Give me a process. Give me something that I can use A, B, and C's and how to, a guide with examples. So faith, it is that tool that can help us. And I like what we just talked about. To achieve this, no matter what is our religion, no matter what is our religion, interpretation of God, we must accentuate our own trusting good to reflect its excellence. It's how the loving God impact myself and how I internalize this and become a better person. It doesn't matter, whatever religion or whatever interpretation that we have, the importance is to use that as a tool so we avoid those detours, right? And I want to bring a text from the gospel. I love this. That is the remedy, evil and its remedy. There's a question. What remedy can we prescribe for this? Maybe our youth is lost. There is no more cause. What is the remedy? For those attacked by cruel obsessions and mortifying evils, there is one but infallible way, through faith. The remedy, the spirits are saying, the remedy is faith. So we can combat that evil. We can combat the lost cause that we might perceive at this point with the world, which is the appeal to heaven. If at the moment of highest roughness, imagine us in our highest vicissitudes and challenges and storms, in your suffering, you intone hymns to the Lord, then the angel, our beloved guardian angel, at your bedside will show you the sign of salvation and the place which you will one day occupy. Faith is the only sure remedy for suffering. It will always show the infinite horizon before which the few cloudy days of the present will vanish. I find this is chapter 5 from the Gospel according to Spiritism. And to end, I would like to end with the letter of Paul. Paul to the Romans says, through whom we have gained access by faith into his grace, in which we now stand, and we boast in the hope of the glory of God. Not only so, but we also glory in our sufferings, because we know that suffering produces patience, and patience, character, and character, hope. And hope does not put us to shame, because God's love has been poured onto our hearts through the Holy Spirit, who has been given to us. And as my mind with Guy and process, I kind of created this, my own translation of Paul's letter. We stand firm in God. All those challenges give us patience. It's developing our patience, which in turn develops our character, which in turn is our hope, until we have another situation. And all of that, perseverance and love. Perseverance and love through all those vicissitudes and all the storms. Maybe a drizzle rain or a big thunderstorm. I think Paul's letter and that approach really can kind of ground us and kind of help us with the challenge that we have in this life. That was awesome. Thank you very much for all your contribution. All right. So, with our thoughts connected to the most positive and beautiful divine thoughts from God, from Jesus our Master. Let's once again be grateful for this opportunity that we learn a little bit more about trust, about faith, about confidence. Let us reflect after today. What are we cultivating in our mental house? What are we doing to use faith as this tool? And as Emmanuel mentioned, so we can avoid those undue detours, that it can help us in every single moment of our life. Faith and confidence in us, faith and confidence in God and in life, and having that hope that there is a better future. There is a future state that all of us deserve, and all of us will achieve of that relative happiness. Let us remember and let us be vigilant and pray that once we embark in some of the storms and some of the challenges, that we remember that the divine mercy is here for every single one of us. We are invited to do our own part and believe that heaven, God, Jesus, and our guardian angels will help us with everything that is outside of our power. Let's ask for a rest of a blessed Sunday. Let's ask for a week that is full of serenity, full of love, full of tranquility, full of simplicity, and full of energy and opportunities for us to practice this confidence, this faith that is such an important tool and mechanism for us to achieve and progress as an immortal spirit. So be it.